Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maddie and today I'm going to be giving you 5 books that I think are perfect to read in October. A lot of people during this time of year only read spooky books. However, I wanted to include a more diverse group of readers, so each book that I have chosen is from a different genre. So hopefully I have a book that you would enjoy. First, I'm going to be recommending an adult horror novel. I have Bird Box by Josh Malerman. Many people have heard of this book because it was adapted into a movie for Netflix, and I will say that the movie is actually pretty good, so if you enjoy watching horror movies, especially during this time of year, and you have Netflix, you should definitely watch it. However, I will say that there were a lot of changes made for the movie, so the book is quite different. This book follows a woman named Mallory, and it switches back and forth between the present and the past. In this book, there are these evil beings that suddenly showed up on the earth, and if you come in contact with them, they either make you kill somebody else or kill yourself. They make you do terrible things. And so there was this huge epidemic of suicide, and most of the human population was wiped out. And the surviving humans had to group together and shut themselves out from the outside world. If they go outside, they have to be blindfolded, because if they see any of these creatures, they will go on a killing rampage themselves. And the book follows Mallory's story from the time these beings first invaded Earth to the present day. It includes all of the horrific details of her survival through the past decade, and then it also follows her present day story, and she is trying to escape the place that she's living in, and she is traveling with 2 young children. This book is super interesting, super unique, and I don't really read horror books. It's not really my thing, but I did really like this one. And next I have another spooky read, but it's not within the horror genre. I think it's classified as paranormal. The Dyer Trilogy by Michelle Hawken is one of my favorite series of all time, and it has some paranormal, it has romance, it has magical, and it also has some urban fantasy to it as well. The main character's name is Mara, and in the beginning of the first book, Mara and her friends are roaming through an abandoned insane asylum. In this town, it's not uncommon for teenagers to go and explore the ruins of this insane asylum. However, it's also illegal and it can be quite dangerous. There have been a few people injured. It is also strongly discouraged to enter this asylum because it is structurally unstable. But of course, Mara and her friends want to be little daredevils, and they want to roam through this asylum and pretend like they're not scared. And this is not a spoiler. A major accident occurs while they're in the building, and Mara is the only survivor. In the beginning of the book, Mara wakes up in the hospital and she has amnesia. She doesn't remember what happened. She doesn't remember what happened to any of her friends. And she is also experiencing hallucinations, which makes her an unreliable narrator. And that's just the beginning of this story. I don't want to tell you more because I feel like anything about the plot of these books beyond what I've already told you really spoils the enjoyment of the story, because it's one of those series that you really need to go into blind. There is so much involved with it. Like I said, it does include some fantasy elements. It does include some paranormal elements. There's also a fantastic romance in this book. It's one of my favorites. He's a British bad boy, I'm just saying. In the later books, there's also more of some horror elements. There is a little bit of torture and some really creepy stuff going on in the later books. I highly recommend this series. And for my historical fiction lovers, I have another slightly creepy book, Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. This book is set in Victorian London during the time of the Jack the Ripper murders, and it follows 2 teenage characters, Audrey Rose and Thomas Cresswell, as they play detective trying to solve the Jack the Ripper murders. And despite the gender roles during her time period, Audrey Rose is an apprentice to become a forensic scientist. She loves to study dead bodies and try and figure out how they died. And of course, she is eager to figure out who Jack the Ripper is. I would classify this book as a YA historical mystery, and it is the first book in a 4 or 5 book series. I personally will not be continuing on with the series because while I am recommending this book to you, I didn't personally enjoy it that much. I found the ending to be kind of predictable, but that is an unpopular opinion. I do hold an unpopular opinion about this book. Most people absolutely adore this book, adore these characters, and adore the series. And I do really like the characters, but I wanted more from the mystery. That's just me. But then again, everyone loves this book, which is why I'm still recommending it to you. I think I gave it 4 stars, which isn't bad by any means, so I still recommend it. And next, for you fantasy lovers who aren't really into reading spooky books this time of year, I have Heartless by Marissa Meyer. This is an origin story for the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. This book all around just gives me October vibes, but the fun kind of vibes, not the spooky vibes. Obviously, it's set in the world of Alice in Wonderland, so it's very whimsical, very strange, and it has a whole lot of cool fantasy elements and creatures, and just, it's a lot of fun. The main character's name is Catherine, and she wants to open up her own bakery. She is a baker, and she is just like a very nice, sweet, loving lady. And the king actually is pursuing her. He wants her to become his queen, to be his bride. So that just tells you the kind of person that she is. And throughout this book, you're constantly wondering, like, how in the world the story is going to turn dark, because it is the origin story for the Queen of Hearts, who is the villain in Alice in Wonderland. So how did she go from being this sweet, innocent girl to becoming the evil queen of the land? And if you like Alice in Wonderland, some of the characters actually show up in this one as well, so I think you will really like it. And if I'm remembering correctly, pumpkins are pretty relevant to the story, so October. And lastly, if you don't like horror, paranormal, anything spooky, if you don't really read fantasy, I have a contemporary recommendation for you that gives me October vibes. I have If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. I have recommended this book so many times on my channel because it's very underrated in my opinion, and I want to recommend it any chance I get. This is a very dark, hard-hitting contemporary, which is why I feel like it's perfect to read in October. This book follows two characters. You have Autumn and Finn. They have always lived next to each other, and their moms are best friends, so they have known each other for as long as they can remember. They were born within a few days or a few weeks apart. I'm not quite remembering that exactly, but they were born rather close together, and so they're pretty much the same age. They've pretty much known each other their whole entire lives. This book follows them throughout their childhood up until their senior year in high school. As children, they were always super, super close. Not only were they best friends, but they felt like family. They were basically raised to be like family. But then something happened when they were in middle school that kind of separated the two, and while they're still in each other's lives and while they still have family dinners together and they're around each other all the time, they do not speak to each other outside of home. In their family life, they are pretty much siblings, but at school, they don't even speak to each other. None of their friends even know that they know each other. Autumn is a part of kind of like the outcast group, and then Finn is a part of the really popular group at school. So they do not associate with each other whatsoever. And neither of them have really faced and confronted what happened between them that kind of pulled them apart. They've never talked about it. They just pretend like it never happened. The characters also have personal struggles as well. This book tackles divorce, seasonal depression, suicide, grief, and loss. Each of the characters also have their own romantic relationships that they are involved with, and it follows them through all of their dating adventures and heartbreak, breakups, their relationships within their individual friend groups. Oh my gosh. Our house has a wraparound porch, meaning it goes all the way around the house. And I just looked out the window and a squirrel ran by, and then my dog ran by. So apparently my dog is literally chasing this squirrel around the porch. Back to this book. Wow, it's actually kind of hard to get back to the seriousness of this story after that just happened. Anyway, Finn has never really had a relationship with his father because I believe he was born out of an affair, and his father has his own family, his own other children that he pays attention to, and he's never really had a relationship with Finn, which is another part of this story. There are so many things. There are so many things that I love about this book. This book is such an important read, and I don't know why more people haven't read it. If you haven't heard of this book, now you know. If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. It is such a hard-hitting book, but so important, and it tackles so many important topics. It tackles so many things that aren't really touched on in literature, but especially YA. It's also just a coming-of-age story about these two kids turning into adults. And I feel like a lot of people can resonate with these characters, will relate to these characters. And because of the dark subject matter and the dreary vibes of this book, I feel like it's perfect to read in October. Alright, that is it for this video today. Those are 5 books that I feel like are perfect to read in October. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more bookish content by me. Let me know in the comments down below what books you recommend reading in October or just the fall season, because I'm kind of in the mood for some more recommendations. I don't usually read seasonal books. Like, I'll read contemporaries in the dead of winter, and I'll read like hardcore fantasies in the middle of summer. I really don't care what time of year I read books, but for some reason this year I've kind of been wanting some more spooky books to read this month. So if you have recommendations, let me know. I hope y'all have a wonderful day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.